Recording? Okay. Alright. Welcome to the Lil Big Bro Podcast. I'm the little bro, Leo.
And I'm the big bro, Hector.
And we are on episode 11, The Great Divide of Avatar The Last Airbender. The people would say the one filler episode of the whole show, of the whole season.
Yeah, I would call this a filler because the Zuko's not even in this episode, or the Fire Nation. I don't think the Fire Nation is even in it at all. This is more early Avatar team episode with Aang.
Some
Aang, yeah, the OGs.
Exactly. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go. Oh God, there's music.
Always love the intro music.
Oh yeah, it actually feels very country, this one, because they're all out in like the wilderness rock formations. It kind of looks like Utah or something.
Yeah, or Arizona because of the. It makes me think of Arizona because of the the canyon that they have to walk through.
That's true. So that's true.
The episode starts with Sokka, building a tent, and Katara like getting some sticks, and you can sense that there's like tension in the group. Just like with anybody that you travel with for a long time, you're bound to have like tension.
Mm-hmm. And one wants to do it this way, wants to do it the other way. Basically, Katara thinks the tarp should go on top of the tent in case it rains, and Sokka's like, there's no cloud in the sky. It's not gonna rain.
So then eventually, like, Sokka just breaks down the tent. He's like, fine, there's no tent. And then Katara throws a stick at him, and then we get Aang coming in. Look at them, and he's gonna be the mediator of peace. And this is a little funny because it brings up Aang's little humor of like, I'm the Avatar. I'm here to create peace.
Yeah.
Settling feuds and making peace, all in a day's work for the Avatar.
I solve problems. That's what I do. Even with Appa and Momo, they're fighting over like a watermelon cactus thingy, and he chops it up. But he doesn't chop. He chops it up like not evenly, but like
1/4 piece. Like Appa gets the fourth, and
even Momo's like, "What? This isn't half." And then it's like, Appa's got 5 stomachs. He needs the most. And it's like, fine.
And then here's where they show, like, now they jump to seeing what the canyon that they need to cross, and this is where you can see the difference of like Katara appreciating the canyon, and Sokka's like, oh, okay, that looks nice. I've seen enough. He's like, let's just fly over it.
Let's go. And then they get ambushed by somebody telling them like, oh, you need a canyon guide to go through this canyon. This is very like dangerous, and it's like a historical canyon in the Earth Kingdom, blah blah blah. And Sokka just goes up behind him, just like he's talking. Blah, blah. But now we're introduced to the Zhang tribe.
So the Zhangs. So
the Zhangs. I forget.
Yeah, those are the Zhangs
of the Gangjin. Yeah, the 2 tribes.
So just like the episode started with, the siblings having a little rivalry. Then it goes to these tribes, the Jings and the Jangs. They've been like they've hated each other for a long time, and they both need to cross these canyons. So they're looking for the canyon guide.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the canyon guide, who is an earthbender. He, apart from probably Bumi and Haru, this is like the next earthbender that we're actually getting like some time with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's basically the canyon guide, and anybody who's like wants to get through the canyon needs to have an earthbender to navigate the canyon. So that's why you have these 2 sets of tribes that are fighting like, hey, we were here first. We should be going with you.
And it's funny that the tribes are like completely opposite. Like the Jangs are like more barbarian style tribes, and
the
the
Ganjins are all like regal, like
yeah, like
nice,
you
finely
know,
pressed clothes.
a little bit more like high end.
Yeah, and then Katara's like, "Oh, Aang, this is your time. Like, you gotta be the peacemaker. Go." And then Aang's like, "Fighting over chores is one thing. These people are just fighting each other right now. I don't know what to do." And he's like, "Well, can't we all just share, get along?" It's like that's easier said than done. Oh my gosh, they just like blame each other. Like I don't know. There's some history between these two tribes that they do not like each other and can't
And
figure
then
out what to do.
Aang gets frustrated, and he's just like, "Okay, well, you're gonna have to deal with it. We're both gonna have to walk through this canyon together."
Mm-hmm. So they put all the elderly and sick on Appa, and Appa's just gonna fly them, past the canyon.
And then they sit, and while they're on Appa, they still sit like on
It's right, they're
opposite
separated.
sides of each other. I mean, it just it just touches like how just people were like in old times, and unfortunately how sometimes they still are now, but they're just like,
That's true.
they don't care for other uh you know ethnicities or cultures and stuff, and they just they don't get a chance to get to know them.
Yeah, you could just be one could be so set in their own ways that just like, nope, I'm not gonna deal with them. Not gonna deal with people. Blah blah blah. Like, yeah, it's so funny.
Oh, and then the earthbender says that there's no food allowed, so he's like, eat what you can because we're
Because
not
they
taking. And they're
predators.
like, oh, they all get so like frustrated, and he's like, oh, you poor babies, you can't have food for one day.
Yeah, and even in the way they eat, it shows the differences. Like,
Yeah, like one uses
the
little
Jags are
chopsticks,
just
and
like,
the other ones are like,
yeah. Oh man, it's really cool. It's really fun seeing this like earthbender. You're seeing different uses of earthbending. Like there was a path without like a little bridge area, and he just extends the part of the mountain or the cliff side to make like a little path. It's really fun. It's really inventive. Earthbending is very inventive, and I think
yeah,
right. It
I love
depends on the
earthbending.
earthbender, right?
Hmm?
It depends on the earthbender. Like there's a rock slide coming down at you, and you either like he guided like the rocks away from everybody. But there's
Yeah, I think
other benders that would create like a barrier above them to have it slide off.
right.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, this is the actual first time we actually got a chance to see a good amount of earth bending. So it's cool how he's showing like different, what he can do, just the
Yeah,
possibilities of earth.
yeah.
And
Oh, and then we
now
get to
we
see
see actually the creatures that they said like why they're not supposed to have food. And
the
it's
canyon
like a
crawler.
yeah, it's a candy color, but it's like a spider
Like
slash
roach. I don't even know what that face
roach
is. I don't even know what that face
slash
is.
lizard.
Yeah. I mean,
Roach, lizard, spider.
yeah. I mean, totally understandable. You don't want to like have that. Be surprised by
And
that. That'd be funny.
Aang saves the day by fighting it off and using some earth airbending and doing a little
Mhm.
tunnel and setting out flying. But unfortunately, the earthbender, I think he broke both of his arms.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
now
no
you
more
can.
earthbending now. I guess that's our little treat of earthbending is over.
Yeah, it sucks. Can you imagine having your arms broken? That's so sad. That's poor guy.
Poor
Oh,
guy. Wait until he has to go to the restroom. That's
that's true.
whoever has to help him is gonna be a poor person.
That's true. And without like any like knowledge of anything, right? Like the two groups, the two tribes just start bickering at each other and blaming each other for like, oh, they probably brought food. Oh no, you brought food. Like, oh my gosh. And the poor guide, he starts like tripping out, like, oh,
He's
we're
like, I
gonna
don't want to die
die
here.
down here. What are we gonna do? I don't want to die.
Won't die down here. I won't become part of the food chain.
And then it just gets so frustrating because like the Jings and the Jangs. Did I say
Yeah,
that
the
right?
gun. Yeah, the was it
The
the
Ganjings
Jangs and
and
the
the
Ganjins?
Jangs
Mm-hmm.
are just bickering and keep on blaming each other. So like no solution is resolved, and they just keep on yelling. So Aang's gotta. It's like
He's
Aang is
gotta
like
be
this
adult.
child,
Mm-hmm.
this
He's gotta
like
be the adult.
12-year-old has to make a decision for these grown adults to what they need to do, which is it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
it's like our
and then
world.
Katara and Sokka go and split their ways too. So one takes the other tribe, and so will they keep peace or will they end up siding with each tribe that they go with?
Who knows? Oh, of course, finding common ground with each other. Sokka is talking to them about their while they're building the tents. Like, are you gonna put a tarp up? It could, in the case it rains. Like, no, why? It's not gonna rain.
And
He's
then
like,
Katara notices that the tribe that she's with put a tarp up just in case it rains. So it's like, so they're already gonna start taking the tribes that they're with sides.
yeah, the Jins already have the tarps. It's hilarious. Better to be prepared. Like, oh my gosh.
And then they notice that
Yeah, the Jin.
the Jings to took some food, so
Mm-hmm.
they're probably the reason that the spider the cave crawlers were chasing them.
Yeah, but their reasoning, right, is like, well, we brought food because there's a good chance that they brought food too. So why do we have to starve if they're not starving? And Katara's like, I get your point. But then yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. It's sad reasoning, but yeah. Oh yeah, and this is
Now,
where we get the tails. They're both
oh,
tails.
yeah. So we're starting with the
The
Ganjin
Jins. Yeah.
Ganjin's tail. So
Mm-hmm.
their side that they have like their person was taking the orb from one side to hold the other side, and
And then a Zhang
he's
attacked them.
running, and then all of a sudden he gets attacked by the Ganjings,
Mm-hmm.
and so that he takes the orb for himself and then runs back the other way. So
Also, notice the artistic style, like very fine, elegant style.
yeah,
And then we go back to the Zhangs, where Sokka's eating, and of course they have food. But there's some like remorse of like, yeah, he's like, what are we gonna do? Like, we need to eat. And they say the same thing. They say, well, we brought food because they were gonna bring food, so why do we need to starve? They have similarities. They just don't know it.
right. And then they go into their story.
Mm-hmm. Where their tribe leader from long ago saw like the Gangjin Jin leader, like he was like hurt, and he's like, oh, the orb needs to go across the gate. But and then he's like, okay, fine, I could do it. He tells him, you need to get that orb across the gate, which he does. And what ends up happening is he gets basically reported and imprisoned because, wrongly accused. What he was just doing? He was just helping out the guy.
Right.
Poor guy.
And their
Very
style of
similar stories,
animation,
kinda.
their style of animation is much more,
More rough, a little rough, a little more
more
edges.
rugged.
Yeah.
So we notice that each one of them has their own little story of what actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe
And then
we'll learn the truth.
We come back to Aang, and Aang is the only one that's not eating. Even Momo would share his little bug, but he's like, I don't want a bug.
Yeah, Momo gets this little bug just flying across and started eating it. You know. So now Aang's talking to the Earthbender. He's like, I wish I can help something with these tribes.
Yeah, because it's
And
interesting. Because it seems like this Earthbender, he's run into these tribes before, so he's like, hey, their problems might not be just all that different actually, which is very true. Their stories are very similar to each other. It just seems like nitpicking their story from each other.
So now they come across and they get through the path that they went on each way, and they're coming back to a meeting. And so now Katara and Sokka are both taking the sides of the tribe that they went with and saying that, one of them was wrongfully accused, and so the other one is like, well, they stole the orb from them, and so now they're fighting.
Yeah, now Katara and Sokka are fighting over those issues. Oh my gosh. So now they gotta try and figure out a way to get up these cliffs without an earthbender. And of course, like, both tribes are just throwing insults at each other.
Yeah, saying that one can't climb, the other one is like, we're not gonna climb with these dirty thieves. And then they call one of the own calls a pompous fool.
You're too fancy to climb.
And Aang's just getting frustrated. He's like, enough. He's like, harsh words won't do anything. He's like, the faster we get out of here, the quicker we can go our separate ways and eat.
Yeah. And then one of them's like, maybe the Avatar is right. And then Aang's face is like, yay. And then the last thing he was thinking, they're like, we can't never get along. We just need to settle this now. We just settle this now in a fight. Like, why? What's the point of this?
I like the Ganjing sword. It's like,
yeah,
it reminds me of the sword from like one of the swords that they were using in a I can't think of like where from. I can just think of Game of Thrones right now.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the Jangs? The Jangs, they have that little hookish sword. Yeah, and
Aang gets frustrated while they're fighting, and hits with staff and splits them all in both ways, which causes all of them to spill whatever stuff that they're hiding, and he realizes that they all had food, and then poor Aang, who's starving, sees that the Jangs have a custard party. He's like, is that custard?
He's hugging.
Is that egg custard in that top?
Literally the only person who hasn't eaten. Poor Aang.
And of course, all that food ends up bringing the cave crawlers down.
And the Earthbender.
Yeah, the Earthbender is trying. He's like, back.
They had a taste. They're coming back. That's so funny. So like out of nowhere. But dude, yeah, these canyon crawlers are freaky looking.
I mean, if one of those came after me, and because they're big too, they're big creatures. So if I'd be terrified if I wasn't like an Earthbender or anything.
Yeah, we get scared of like bugs that are like somewhat small or somewhat big, but these things, imagine.
I don't even like spiders.
Yeah, imagine a bug as big as a car. That's that dude.
Things are like as big as a truck.
Yeah, that'd be nuts. And
so of course, Aang and Katara and everyone, they're trying to fight off the bugs. So they're trying to figure out a way. Aang's using some airbending, keeping them away, but they're cornering everybody because there's a lot of them. So
they're getting overwhelmed.
I think Aang gets a little idea on what to do, and he grabs one of he ends up grabbing one of the bags and
food,
feeding them to get their attention, and then he ends up like wrapping the bag around them, almost like riding them like a like a wild horse in a
Yeah,
way,
exactly.
and then
Yeah,
trying to tame them, and then and then they end up using them. This at this point, they're actually all working together
which is
too.
it's so great.
Yeah. So Aang, figured out a way to get them all to work together, without them thinking about it too, because they're not thinking about being help each other. They're just trying to survive, and so they use the cave crawlers to crawl the way back out of
In the canyon.
the cave or the canyon, yeah, out of the canyon and back up.
Yeah, and yeah, they all made it together. Surprisingly, yeah. Imagine what working together can do.
The poor Earthbender fell off.
Uh huh.
I can just imagine how painful he is because his arms are broken. He's literally falling on his side.
Uh huh. Poor guy. Yeah, and for once they finally giving each other compliments. Like, hey, you're
Yeah,
reliable in the pinch. You're so resourceful. But he's like, not even that will like discredit what you did in taking our orb. Or like, well, you imprisoned our guy for 20 years.
and
It's like, oh my god.
then the feud returns. One small compliment, and then it goes back. And this
Yeah,
is actually one of my favorite parts of the episode because like
Aang
Aang
is aware of a
realizes he's like,
story.
hey, he's like, I knew them because since he's technically 100 years old. He's like, one day now he starts telling the story about them, and
Yeah,
so I love how he
Jinwei,
changes this because
Won
you
Jin.
see the characters, and he's like, actually, he's like, they're brothers. He's like, they're twins, and they're 8 years
Animation does
old,
all like chibi cute things.
and brings him back to like with the little heart. And then the orb, he's like, was actually a ball, and the and they were heading towards Gold Coat, so it's almost like a little like soccer in a way, like their
Yeah,
version of soccer.
yeah, and like one's dropping the ball, he was just dropping a ball. He didn't drop just an orb, and then the other brother stepped out of bounds, so he was like put in a timeout pin, but not for like 20 years, for like 20 seconds. And he's like, yeah, it was just a special ball. And then there's one guy who's like trying to poke a hole in the story. Wait, what about the redemption ritual?
And
Hank's
he's
like,
like,
well,
that's what the game was called, Redemption.
when you get a goal, you would yell redemption. Like little kids would exactly know that word, redemption. And apparently this stops the feud of those feuding tribes. Now they can live in peace and go together into the
So
Earth Kingdom.
Aang did his avatar duty and made peace with everyone.
Yeah. As he gets licked by Appa. Just full of Appa slime.
Appa slime, slobber.
Yeah. Poor Earthbender. He's like, I'm not going through this canyon again.
And then the both tribes take off together heading on the same path.
This is your
And
favorite
this is
part.
what I thought that was. This is what I thought that was funny. It's like, so he's like, so Sokka's like, so you knew them? He's like, no. He's like, I just made it up.
And both Katara and Sokka are like, you didn't. Like, well, yeah, what were we supposed to do? They're just gonna keep fighting.
I wanted some custard pie.
Exactly. The things people will do when they're starving. Aang had not.
Aang was starving. I would be hangry.
Yeah, he was kind of hangry too. Oh my god.
Yo, no, you know what he was? He was getting angry because he didn't have the patience that he usually has.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he was hungry.
Which makes sense.
Or
Hey,
he was hangry.
He resolved a long-standing feud because he was hungry by lying a little bit. It worked out.
Just a little white lie. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, that was a fun episode. It is a fillery episode, and everybody makes fun of it because it's like, oh, why is this episode here? But it's actually it's cute.
Yeah, because I mean it's a filler episode, but it was. I mean, it was. There was tons of lessons to be learned on this episode, and at the time, because the show is based for kids in a way, I think, originally. So it just obviously just hit a bigger audience,
Yeah.
because we became fans of it, and a lot of now that when we were younger, we saw it because it's been like how many years?
Gotta be
2001
almost
is
20 years, maybe, since the first season came out. I think almost 20 years.
yeah. So
I mean, this episode is able to show like 4 different animation styles, like
yeah.
the regular animation, then the Ganjins, their animation when they told the story, the Zhangs, their animation, and then when Aang retold the story, and it became
Oh,
all
that's right. Yeah.
oh, like that's actually fun. That's you don't. There's not another episode that does that. I think.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another episode that shows um slightly different animation, but not to this extent, like 4 different types. I think and I think it's great for the like the creativity of the artists to do all these different types of animations.
Yeah, and just have fun with it. That was fun. Let's see. Let's go to the Avatar's arc, where we talked about it a bunch already. The canyon crawlers,
The candy crawlers, the
Freakiest
panda.
thing. That's true. It was like an animated panda, right? It was in his mind. Let's see. Let's see if I could look it up really quickly. What would a canyon crawler? What's the anatomy of it? Oh, on the wiki, on Avatar wiki, they say it's a large animal. Well, obviously a large animal found in the Earth Kingdom. It is a cross between a mix of a crocodile and a spider.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I see
Oh,
the crocodile face.
oh, that's freaky. Yeah, it had like 4 eyes, but yeah, that like
Yeah,
long
I
snout.
I see the crocodile face. I was thinking about that. I was thinking of like lizard or something because of the face, but definitely a spider.
Yeah. Oh, that's I never would want to see that. That'd be freaky. All right. Our learning corner. What did we learn from this episode? Yeah,
What did we learn?
if it's settling a feud between 2 tribes, it's okay if it's a little white lie. I guess.
If a feud lasts over a few months, it's too long.
Uh-huh.
There's no reason a feud should go on for generations.
True. That's very true.
Eventually you're gonna have to. I feel like eventually you should, move past it after a few generations at least.
That's true. No, that's a good. I like that. That's a good. So it's something to learn about. I like that.
And okay. So how about your favorite airbending moment in non-bending?
Best bending and non-bending, huh? I mean, I love Aang's airbending, but I did like the earthbending that earthbender did. Just as a guide. Like, I mean, yeah, like imagine a national park, like you're an earthbender. That's a great job for you being an earthbender in a national park.
I don't think he was a typical earthbender because he diverted things instead of like hitting them head on. Because most, from what we've watched airbenders, they're very like they break stuff and it's they move forward.
That's true.
But he like that, he moved stuff like away from each other, like the rock slides, avoided them instead of just shattering them.
Yeah, he opened the thing. Yeah, I mean he did well. He kind of did. He technically, the path that he made, the little bridge he made, he grabbed a rock and threw that rock to break that bridge. So like no fire.
Oh yeah, that's
true.
them. My favorite was, I think my favorite was the airbending Aang did. Aang's airbending, especially when he threw off the
tornado.
The tornado, yeah.
Yeah. That's I mean, you can't go wrong with Aang's airbending. Just the different ways he uses it. It's, I don't know. It's really cool. All right, a cup of tea with Iroh.
Even though Iroh was not in this episode at all, I think Iroh would think.
What would Iroh?
If a feud lasts for too long, you will not be able to eat your custard pie. You will go hungry without being able to eat your custard pie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Solving feuds, solving 100-year feuds on an empty stomach is okay to throw a white lie if you're hangry. I don't know.
I think that was too long for an Iroh call. An Iroh.
Oh man. Yeah. Iroh. I don't know. Yeah, it's always that. Like a long feud is, I don't know, one going on generations is just too long.
Yeah, I think what you meant to say is a little white lie for a long feud will get you your custard pie.
There you go. That's perfect. Oh man. Well, thank you everybody for watching this little watch along with us for the episode 11, The Great Divide. We hope you liked it. What would you do, or if you were one of the tribes and you snuck in some food into the canyon, what kind of food would you have snuck in?
All right, I would like to know is, have you had 100-year feud with anybody?
Yeah.
Or not, obviously no one's over 100, but I mean there are some people.
You never know.
But have you ever had a really long feud with someone that, if you think about it now, it's sort of pointless?
That's true. Yeah. Let us know. What if you have any grudges with anybody. Never hold a grudge. It's never good. It's never good for your stomach. So you always have stomach aches. It's never good.
As you get older, you let go of your grudges. I had grudges for years, but no more. Now, I don't even think about them.
Exactly. Now you don't.
They become meaningless.
Now you don't have stomach aches. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Until next time. Thank you, everybody.
We'll see ya.